In this lesson, I'm going to show you a fun and easy way to do some relative pitch ear training. Now, this ear training has a particular goal in mind, and that is this: to recognize in functional harmonic terms, to be able to recognize any of the 12 notes on the piano in any key center. Now, I have to warn you, we're going to be using solfege to name the 12 notes. Solfege because solfege assigns functional sound names to those 12 notes, right? So if you don't know what solfege is, look it up. Go to the website, go to Wikipedia, and get yourself educated, and then come on back, all right? So, what are we going to do? We're going to do some ear training, man. Let's have some fun. So now let me demonstrate the 3-step process for doing this training. Step number 1 is this: we want to play something at the piano that clearly establishes the key center, the sound and feeling of the key center in our mind's ear. The second step is to play a random note on the piano without knowing what that is in advance, and I'll show you how to do that in a minute. And then the third step is to listen. Maybe listen and feel to the impact that that sound has on our mind's ear, and see if we can recognize that sound in functional harmonic terms. So we're going to name it using its solfege syllable, and then, depending on what key we're in, we'll also be able to name it using its letter name. So, let's take a look at this in the key of C. So the first step is to clearly establish the key center in your mind's ear by playing something. So here's a few ideas. One is we could just play a C major scale to establish the key of C. Do you hear and feel that this sound is the key center do? Right? Another idea would be to play, I don't know, a C major chord, for example. But my preferred method, you can take it or leave it, is to play a Roman numeral 5/7 chord resolved to a Roman numeral major 1 chord. So in the key of C, that would be G7 resolved to C. And again, you should hear and feel that this is the sonic center of gravity. This is the key center that we're going to compare the random sounds we're about to play. Right? We're going to compare the sounds we're about to play to. So the second step is this: we have to play a random sound. Boy, how do we do that? Well, the idea is this: grab a pencil, preferably with a nice sticky eraser on the end. What we can do is we can face the piano, close our eyes, and just, with just a vague sense of where the keyboard is, but without enough sense to know exactly where each individual notes are, we can just drop that pencil, and that selects a random note, right? So, step 1, establish key center. Step 2, random note. Step 3, see if we can recognize that note. How does it sound and feel? To my ears and feelings, that sounds and feels like La, which in the key of C is the letter note A. Sure enough, right? So you get the idea, right? Establish key center. random note. And see if we recognize it. To my ears, that sounds like Re, which is D in the key of C. Ah, sure enough. So, now let's do a few more of these, just for fun. So let's do a few more in the key of C. But before we go, I want to point something out, right? You know, change your hands. Try and confuse your body's sense of where the piano is. And, you know, play in different registers so you get used to hearing the notes in different registers. And by the way, don't try and hear intervals. That's not what this is about. This is about hearing the unique sound feeling of each of the 12 solfege syllables in a given key center. Right? So let's do a few. So, establish key center. Random note. Ah, sounds and feels like La, A in the key of C. Sounds and feels like T, which is B in the key of C. Good. Sounds and feels like Me, which is E, the letter E in the key of C. Ah, sure enough. And so on, and so on. I'm thinking that now might be a good time for some words of encouragement. If you're new to this, you might be thinking to yourself, golly, this is really hard, right? Now, I don't want to quibble with you, but I'll beg to differ. I would not characterize this as hard. It's not hard like doing calculus and particle physics, right? I consider that hard. I think this is more a question of getting enough experience under your belt, right? So what are you supposed to do? That being said, what are you supposed to do if you get stuck, right? We're doing this exercise and it's just like, let's do one, right? Say, okay, I'm in the key of C, establish this, and I'm going to do this, and I play something. And I go, golly, I don't know what that is, right? Well, let's try a few things, right? We don't have to get the right answer right away. In fact, we're going to learn a lot in the process of getting to the right answer. So here, let's do this again. And pretend we did this. And I can do this. I go, well, let me try a few things. Let me hum the note out loud. I might have to hunt for it, right? And then maybe. So it's okay to hum out loud to see if you can get that sound into your mind's ear. The other thing you could do is this. You go, do, re, mi, fa. You could sing up and down the scale, right? Use something you know. And so, that being said, what if we still are stuck? Well, don't despair. Let me tell you something. If you're still stuck after doing your best, using what you know, singing out loud, this is actually great news. It's a discovery. We've discovered a weakness in our hearing, right? So this ear training study we're doing is not a test. It's a way to teach us what we know and don't know, and to help us strengthen our weaknesses, right? So let's do this. Let's do another one. Let's say we did this. We established the key center and we played a note. And we went, oh my gosh, I don't know what that is. It sounds out there. Well, first of all, give yourself some credit for recognizing that this sound is way out there, right? So it's not going to be one of the sounds you already know. So you got something, right? You understand something. But let's do this. If you get stuck, genuinely stuck, open your eyes and go, oh, that's what F sharp sounds like in the key of C. Wow! Right? This is a learning opportunity. In fact, now let's take this to another level. Let's really focus on the sound feeling of Phi. Right? So key center. Hum it, sing it out loud, Phi. Let's play some more Phis in the key of C. Right? So, even if you get stuck, it's an opportunity to learn something. And you will, I promise. Now let's do the same thing in the key of G. So, I'm going to establish the key center with a 5-7 to 1 chord progression, which is a D7 chord to a G major triad. It's okay to hum out loud to get the sound into your mind's ear. That sounds, whoops. It sounds like T, which is F sharp in the key of G, right? Again, mix up your hands, different registers, cross over. That sounds like Fa, which is C in the key of G. Sure enough. That sounds like Fa again, which is C. Sure. That sounds like May, which is B flat in the key of G. Sure enough. And so on, and so on. Before saying goodbye, I want to say 5 important things. Number 1, relative pitch solfege ear training is a very learnable skill. Unlike perfect pitch, relative pitch, like we're doing here, is not some gift bestowed by the gods. Right? Anybody can learn this. Anybody. Number 2, as you listen, I like to describe the experience of listening as more than just hearing. It's also about feeling. So I like to use the term sound feeling to describe the experience of musical listening. Number 3, listening is not so much about trying to listen. I'm gonna try to listen, right? Musical listening is more about being receptive than about trying. Number 4, when you're playing sounds here, give yourself enough time for that sound to seep into your mind's ear. And you're going to know what that feels like. It's kind of a freaky experience when it happens for the first time. But I promise, if you do these studies every day, you'll get there. You're going to experience the sound going from the outside of your body, and you're going to feel it actually sound like it's reverberating on the inside of your brain. That's how you know you're starting to listen with your mind's ear. And number 5, I'm going to reiterate what I said for number 1, right? This is a highly learnable skill. You can do this. Don't give up. I promise if you do this for just a few minutes a day, that in a very short order, you're going to start hearing and feeling what each of these tones sounds like. You're going to really start to go, and you're going to be listening to the radio. You're going to be listening to your own playing and go, whoa, that's La, that's Re, that's Mi, that's Ti. And you're going to start to hear and feel music like a real musician.